Imagine lying awake at 2 in the morning. The house is completely silent. The world is asleep, but your mind? Your mind is running at 100 miles per hour. And the crazy thing is, you aren't pondering the grand mysteries of the universe, right? You're not lying there decoding string theory. Instead, you are absolutely haunted by a minor, utterly insignificant interaction from 3 years ago. Or maybe you're obsessing over an ambiguous text message you got that afternoon. It just said, "Okay," with a period. Why the period? Your heart starts racing, your stomach tightens up, and before you know it, you are entirely consumed by a cascading avalanche of worst-case scenarios.
It is such a deeply frustrating, completely exhausting experience. You tell yourself to stop, you practically force your eyes shut, you roll over, but the thoughts just keep looping and looping. It begs the question, why can't you just turn your brain off? Well, what most people don't realize is that when you're caught in this endless spiral, your brain isn't actually broken. You aren't uniquely flawed, and you certainly aren't going crazy. What you are experiencing, right there in the dark, is a highly sophisticated, ancient biological mechanism operating exactly as it was designed to. It's just operating in the completely wrong century. Section 1. The Overthinking Trap.
Okay, let's dive into this, because we really need to completely reframe how we view this whole phenomenon. Overthinking is not a personal failure. It's actually a specific, highly structured mental loop known in psychology as rumination. Basically, rumination is the continuous, repetitive recycling of negative thoughts, memories, or anxieties. Think of it as a destructive collision between your memory, your imagination, and your fear. When we overthink, we actively trick ourselves into believing we are problem-solving. We think, if we just analyze that past mistake one more time, or if we visualize a future disaster from every possible angle, we'll somehow unlock safety. But rumination isn't problem-solving. Problem-solving moves you forward. Rumination is like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. It just digs a deeper hole.
Section 2. Our evolutionary survival engine.
To really understand why we dig this hole, we have to strip things back and look at our evolutionary survival engine. Imagine this. For hundreds of thousands of years, early humans survived not because they were the biggest or the strongest, but because they were the most anxious. Let's be honest. The chill, relaxed caveman who assumed that rustle in the bushes was just the wind? Yeah, he got eaten. The humans who constantly scanned the horizon, who obsessed over the unknown, who vividly imagined a predator lurking in the shadows, those were the ones who survived to pass on their genes. Your brain's alarm system was perfectly calibrated for physical danger, but today, your brain treats a vague, unread email from your boss exactly like it treats a prowling tiger. The physiological response, the sudden spike in cortisol, the flood of adrenaline, is literally identical. Except, the tiger doesn't see your manager. And this brilliantly illustrates how this has scaled over human history. We started with primitive survival instincts, right? Which then evolved into agricultural planning, worrying about the next harvest, praying for rain. Then came the sheer, overwhelming scale of industrial complexity. And now we are drowning in the digital age of information overload. The essential survival instinct to predict uncertainty has become a crippling bug in our modern software. We are bombarded with thousands of data points every single day, and frankly, impossible metrics for success through constant social comparison. Our brain is desperately, furiously trying to predict and control an environment that is simply too complex, too vast to be controlled.
Section 3. The Neuroscience of Rumination.
Psychologists discovered something entirely fascinating about the underlying chemistry that traps us in these endless loops. Look at how your mental energy is actually allocated. A massive 80% of your brain's energy is spent predicting the future, scanning for threats, and dwelling on past data to inform those predictions. 80%. Only a tiny 20% sliver is naturally allocated to just experiencing the present moment. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it proves your brain does not prioritize your happiness. It prioritizes your survival. And survival, from an evolutionary standpoint, requires constantly living in the what-if.
We see this play out in the dual architecture of our brain. It's like we have two completely different operating systems running at once. System 1 is our emotional, primitive brain, often called the inner chimp. It is fast, it's fearful, and it's highly reactive. System 2, on the other hand, is our logical, rational brain. It's brilliant, but it is slow and requires a massive amount of metabolic energy to run. So what happens when we face uncertainty? Our fast, emotional chimp senses a threat and instantly hijacks the entire system. It completely overpowers your logical mind, forcing you to endlessly chew on worst-case scenarios and keeping you trapped in a state of exhausting, high-alert panic.
But there is a much darker, chemical reason we get so stuck.
Dopamine rewards the search for answers. Now, we usually associate dopamine with pleasure, eating a great meal, getting a like on social media, but it's actually the neurotransmitter of anticipation and pursuit. The surprising truth is that overthinking is often a dopamine-driven addiction to certainty. Think about that. When you ruminate, you are actively searching for an answer to calm your anxiety. Every time your brain creates a new, elaborate what-if scenario, it actually gets a tiny drip of dopamine because it feels like it's doing something important. It tricks you into feeling productive, even when absolutely no actual answer exists. It's a chemical wild goose chase.
Section 4. Why intelligent people overthink.
This leads us to a fascinating paradox regarding who actually suffers from this the most. You would assume, logically, that a smarter brain would be better at turning off irrational fears, right? A smart brain should know better. But here's the strange part. The exact opposite is true. To possess a deeper intellect is to be cursed with a deeper imagination, capable of constructing 1,000 terrifying futures. Highly intelligent people overthink way more because their brains are highly efficient, high-horsepower simulation machines. If there is no immediate physical threat in the room, an intelligent brain will literally manufacture highly sophisticated, multi-layered social threats just to give its powerful engine something to process.
So the crucial point is that we see a direct, measurable correlation here. High cognitive ability often links directly to increased rates of worry and rumination. It's what we call the intelligence trap. Your anxiety is often just your intellect fruitlessly searching for a job to do. Your brilliant, capable mind is taking a blank canvas of uncertainty, a totally neutral situation, and painting incredibly detailed, absolutely terrifying masterpieces on it. It's using its sheer processing power against you.
Section 5. Retraining your overactive brain.
So what does this all mean for us? How do we actually fix this? Well, because this is a mechanical loop, a habitual pathway in the brain, we can use neuro-backed methods to physically rewire it. But the very first step is absolutely crucial. You have to dismantle a core myth. We have to stop viewing our own minds as the enemy. The reality is that your overthinking brain is just an overly protective bodyguard. It is a miscalibrated tool desperately trying to keep you safe from a modern world it doesn't quite fully understand. When you stop fighting your brain, when you stop getting angry at yourself for worrying, and actually start thanking your mind for trying to protect you, you immediately lower the emotional resistance that feeds the rumination. You take the fuel away from the fire.
Let's move to the practical side and see how this builds into actionable steps to break the loop. First up is the pattern interrupt. You literally have to catch the loop in real time, the moment you realize you are spiraling. Actually, scratch that. The moment you even feel the spiral starting, say stop out loud, or snap a rubber band on your wrist. You have to physically jolt the brain out of its default neural pathway. Second is grounding. Force your brain out of the imagined, terrifying future and drag it back into sensory reality. Name 3 things you can see right now, 2 things you can physically touch, and 1 thing you can hear. It forces the logical brain back online. Third is the next step rule. Anxiety thrives in vague, overwhelming generalities. Defeat it by taking one incredibly small micro-action. Do the dishes, send 1 email. Action is the ultimate, undeniable antidote to rumination.
Implementing daily brain retraining habits is where the real permanent rewiring happens. And this changes everything. Schedule worry time. I know it sounds crazy, but give yourself 15 minutes at, say, 4 in the afternoon strictly dedicated to worrying. Sit down and write out every single worst-case scenario. Go wild. But when 4:15 hits, you're done. Put a lid on the jar. By creating a designated time and clinical label for your anxiety, you stop it from leaking into your entire day. You begin to train your brain to realize that while the emotion you are feeling is completely valid, it does not dictate the objective facts of your reality. Feelings are not facts.
Ultimately, conquering an overactive mind requires a profound, fundamental shift in perspective. And it comes down to this single truth. You are not the voice in your head, you are the one listening to it. Let that sink in for a second. The thoughts buzzing around your brain, the anxieties, the fears, they are just weather patterns passing through the sky. You are the sky. By creating that tiny bit of distance between the thinker and the observer, you rob the anxiety of its power. You don't have to fight the thought. You can simply watch it arrive, acknowledge it's there, and just let it pass by without inviting it in for tea.
The architecture of your mind was built for survival in a dangerous ancient world. But you have the power to renovate it for peace in the present. The neural pathways of worry took years, maybe decades to build. And for sure, they will take time to reroute. It's a process. But the very moment you recognize the trap, the moment you see the illusion for what it is,
you are already halfway out. So as you move forward from today, the profound question remains, will you continue to let your mind use you, or will you step back, take a breath, and finally start using your mind?